Welcome to the chapter 269 leaks. If you guys happen to forget what has happened over the past week or so, we have to find out what happened to Yuta after the Sukuna raid. With that said, I'm gonna make this intro quick. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to help the boy out. And now we're gonna let Ricardo take over, and once he's done, we'll start the leaks.
Real quick, with Jujutsu Kaisen ending soon, we're trying to hit 10,000 members and make the biggest anime Discord server. Discord.gg/the collaboration. The link is at the top of the description. Join it now!
Alright, we're back. So Miyamura is not here this week. One of his close friends are going to be doing leaks in his stead because he's having family issues. Now we can get into the chapter. So the title of the chapter is called Examination. And the comment is on the street corner at that candy shop. No idea what this means, maybe we'll find out later. But Mei begins the chapter by saying how much. And apparently she's buying something from this guy that looks pretty weird. If you know, I can't put up the leaks because Shueisha has been bombing my channel. Anyways, the next page displays Maki pissed at Yuta. But it looks like Yuta has his body back. He has the Kenjaku stitches on his head though. Megami goes on to say that his mind feels very fuzzy at the moment, and he goes on to ask if this is the effects of Unlimited Void. And he also says that he wants to apologize to everybody for, letting Sukuna take over his body and everything that happened after that. YUJI then intervenes and says that he's the one who needs to apologize, but Kusakabe counters him, saying that it's Gojo's fault for not killing YUJI at the beginning of the series. And I mean, thank God Gojo didn't, because we see how far that's gotten everybody now, right? Like, although it caused some problems, in the end, it did prevent Sukuna from becoming a huge problem that nobody can deal with. Anyway, Kusakabe goes on to add in that he was in favor of Itadori's execution, and Yaga is the only reason that he's with them right now. And if you forgot, there was that plot line of Yaga saving Kusakabe's family member, I think his sister, and Kusakabe's always felt indebted to Yaga because of that. And then that's come all the way to him helping Yaga's students and stopping the Sukuna raid and everything like that. If you know, Kusakabe is like a man's man. He's always gonna step up when he needs to. Anyways, Kusakabe finishes his little rant by saying that you kids need to start acting like kids. You're making it tough for old people like me. Anyway, Yuta begins to explain that Rika is the reason that he was able to get his old body back, saying that Rika was able to keep using reverse curse technique in order to maintain his old body while he was inside of Gojo. Kusakabe then says that Kenjaku was likely using multiple curse techniques, applying some sort of barrier technique in order to make all of that stuff work, and so he can keep using his domain expansion and stay in the body. He did some kind of trick. Maki also mentions that if Yuta had played his part properly, they could have defeated Sukuna with way more ease. And it's important to mention that we still haven't gotten Kenjaku's body hopping explanation. It might be cope at this point. Don't care if it is. I'm just pointing it out. And this part's about to be really interesting because it's about to tackle a lot of things that readers brought up. This is where Maki says she was the one who should have ambushed Kenjaku. And she also says that Higuruma should have been the one who had Inumaki's help with the voice recorder in order to win easily with the Executioner's Blade. There can only be one voice recorder at once, hence is why they're not saying Inumaki could have had 10 voice recorders and they could have kept doing it. But all these are countered by Todo saying that Boogie Woogie wouldn't work on Maki in the first place, and it would have been a close call for Yuta without him there to use Boogie Woogie. He also mentions that Yuta and Rika were necessary to stop the rampage of cursed spirits that were released after Kenjaku would die. Panda goes on to say that Inumaki could have died from the recoil of his cursed speech if Sukuna was at full strength while he used it. He's basically saying if they dropped Inumaki in chapter 235 in front of Gojo's hollow purple and he used cursed speech, his head would explode. Higuruma then enters the conversation. Yes, Higuruma's actually back. I mean, in the YUJI montage where he thought of all his friends in chapter 265, Higuruma wasn't there and I was clowning him for not being there, but I guess I got cooked. Anyways, he says that Sukuna was just playing with him, and if it was a situation where Yuta was present, Sukuna would have killed Higuruma instantly. So yeah, thank God Yuta didn't pull up at first, I guess, because Sukuna isn't going to play around if he can't play around and all those super powerful sorcerers are present. I think that's why Gege didn't have any heavy hitters or higher tier characters fight at the same time. YUJI, Miguel, Higuruma, Yuta, Maki all took different turns leading the fight against Sukuna. I mean, there was Yuji and Yuta and Yuji and Maki working together, but once Yuji awakened and actually got that boost in strength, he was not working with Yuta, Maki, or anybody else from there on out. Higuruma also says that cursed speech is easy to counter, and he was the one who came up with the plan of using the voice recorder inside of Yuta's domain instead of his, where fighting against each other is not allowed and acts of violence, anything like that, is not allowed. Kusakabe also says that it's frightening that Higuruma, who only learned Jujutsu 2 months ago, can fight against the King of Curses and come out alive. Maki then complains that things would have been completely different if Miguel and LaRue were there from the beginning, and everybody gives Yuta a sharp gaze and says, yeah, that's true. Then everybody's just yelling at Yuta, and Yuta's trying to calm Maki down, saying that LaRue and Miguel were saying that they weren't going to pull up to the fight at all. This is pretty interesting because in the chapter they actually call Miguel the ace or the foreign ace. So his power level is certainly relative to the heavy hitters or probably above it. I don't know, just take it with a grain of salt. But this chapter does hype up Miguel a lot. So Yuji also mentions that the gauntlet he was wearing was Okotsu's cursed tool, and says that because of Kotsu, Sukuna couldn't open his domain for a second time. Hakari then mentions that it's thanks to Yuta that they were able to hang out inside of Rika as Gojo vs Sukuna was going on and watch the battle. If you didn't put it together, that is where they were watching the fight, from inside of Rika. She had all those TVs and all that inside of her. It's crazy. So the chapter continues with Todo mentioning that he's to blame as well. He's saying that it's his fault that he couldn't save Yuji and Choso from Sukuna's domain. He also says that Sukuna's cursed energy was too strong within the center of the domain, making it hard to capture both Yuji and Choso's cursed energies so he can swap them out. Ino also begins to blame himself, saying that the reason he was alive was because YUJI had saved him, and says that Choso should have been the one who lived. Yuji then says that if that were to happen, Yuji would have died, saying that it's nobody's fault. So Yuji's basically saying if Choso ain't died, then everybody else was gonna die, because Yuji wouldn't have been able to finish the battle. Maki then says that it's not like she wants to blame Yuta or anything, since she herself caught 2 of Sukuna's black flashes. But Panda and Inumaki just smiling in the corner, they're probably laughing at her. Miwa says that she was nervous that it might have been possible that when she went to save Maki, she would have been the only one transported and not Maki as well. Because when Todo used Boogie Woogie on Miwa, she was holding on to Maki, but that didn't guarantee that Boogie Woogie caught Maki, who had no cursed energy, if you get what I'm saying. Momo apologizes for not doing anything during the raid, but it's more so she didn't get to have her turn, so she was on the waiting list to fight Sukuna, but they just didn't need her. Hakari adds in that he was going to fight Sukuna after he defeated Uraume, but Uraume was really strong and he wasn't able to put her down in time. Nobara just says that she was sleeping until the last minute, so she has nothing to contribute. Anyways, YUJI stands up and says that nobody can argue against the fact that he was the MVP of the Sukuna raid. Funnily enough, we really can't. Kiara tries to counter him though, saying that he actually left her behind, but YUJI snaps that she was just too heavy. Kusakabe then says that on the other hand, Meimei had it the easiest. YUJI then snaps at Kusakabe, saying that Meimei did her part with the issue of the new shadow style. Meimei then says that her life cannot be exchanged for money, and things that can't be exchanged for money aren't worth risking her life. Hakari goes on to ask about mentioning the new shadow style's binding vow, where only a student of the new shadow style can use simple domain. Kusakabe explains that the restriction of passing down simple domain within the specific school as originally established by the creator Ashiya Sadasuna to prevent the technique getting leaked to cursed users. Basically, simple domain was created to only be used by new shadow style school members by Sadasuna, so cursed users like Geto and the other cursed users we've seen in the series wouldn't be able to use simple domain. So we see Miwa, Kusakabe, Gojo, characters like that who are able to use simple domain because they were trained by the school of the new shadow style. But characters like Yuji and Ino were not, so how are they able to use simple domain? Meimei adds on to Kusakabe, saying that as generations had passed the new shadow style, it lost its public utility and the simple domain became kind of like a trade secret. Basically, they monopolized on the simple domain and imposed unreasonable binding vows since New Shadow Style also served as a technique to rely on for Jujutsu sorcerers who did not have a curse technique. Toto had learned New Shadow Style from Tsukumo, who had learned New Shadow Style using the Mekamaru method, watching people who know the technique and learning indirectly from them. Kusakabe and Mei explained that the students of New Shadow Style can't refuse a deployment order from the head of the New Shadow Style, and there are other hassles too. It's also rumored that the head of the New Shadow Style absorbed the lifespan of those who are their students. Mei then expands on it, saying that the New Shadow Style is made so people can't discover who the head is. So the rumor itself is true, but no one can really confirm how they absorb the lifespan of students. Kusakabe adds that there are elderly students too, and says that if the head dies, one of the senior disciples will become the successor. So as long as the head or the successor themselves does not reveal how it works, outsiders cannot figure it out. Kusakabe goes on to say that the binding vows of the New Shadow Style can only be removed by the head of the style, but he doesn't know anybody who has the info about the head. Kusakabe reveals that he is the head of NSS now. This means that there are no more binding vows on Simple Domain. Everybody can use Simple Domain the same exact way that he does. There's no charms, absorbing lifespans, or anything like that. Mei says that she wants YUJI to become the next head so she can receive monthly fees from all the students every month. And YUJI laughs, kind of like agreeing with it. This is a pretty dope reveal. Everybody can use Simple Domain now. Mei then jokingly says that maybe it's the era of subscription-based Jujutsu, and it cuts to Mei and the elderly person. This elderly person asks Mei how much, and Mei replies saying that she will be taking the elder's life. I do want to tell you guys, pay close attention here. The ending of the chapter is implying that there's more to go in the story of Jujutsu Kaisen. The elder goes on to ask Mei how did she find out about her whereabouts, and why did she know that she was the head of the New Shadow Style. Mei says that she just asked someone who knew, and that the head of the New Shadow Style became a power equal to the 3 great sorcerer clans, and intended to control the entire Jujutsu world from the headquarters. The head of the New Shadow Style then realizes that it was Tengen who told Mei about the whereabouts of this old lady here. I'm sorry I'm having a hard time explaining and articulating this. The translations are horrible. Just wait for the chapter to come out if you want the perfect details. Mei then talks about the head of the New Shadow Clan having a vision that they wanted to see, even if it meant draining the lifespan of their disciples, a great ambition that can't be exchanged for money. This may imply that this person was working with Kenjaku to see the merger, but Mei adds that some things more important than money can't be protected without money. She also says that there would have been sorcerers who could have survived if the Simple Domain wasn't monopolized by these people here. And now with the Zenin clan annihilated, and if both the Kamo and Gojo family fall in this battle, but more than that, it was inevitable that things would come to this, especially since you aim to harm my brother. And then Mei takes the life of the school owner, which is how Kusakabe took over. The chapter then ends there. With the Kamo and Gojo family being implied to enter this battle, I do think it has something to do with Tengen's peer barriers being down, because we don't know what happened to Tengen despite everything that happened in the final arc, and Tengen alone was preventing curse energy and curses from existing outside of Japan. Now we have to also couple the fact that the Kamo clan now has relations with the USA due to Kenjaku and him performing as Oritoshi Kamo and getting into meetings with the USA so they can enter the Culling game. I do think that there is potential for a part 2, possibly, but I am still on the side of the story ending for good in 2 chapters. We just have to see, but it does seem like things are being set up and things could happen. But I am somebody who says wait until it ends and just wait. Don't act now. With that said, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.